Man that was very aware of the fact that he was mic'd up.
I mean, a guy does not become friends with Mark Wahlberg and then stop realizing that, you know, being a public person may be of interest to you. I feel like that's very much a Jimmy Butler thing,
I don't
right?
think this is as much about being a public person as much as I need to be nice to everybody because y'all think I'm a jerk.
Well, there is some of that.
I don't know where the hell Mark Wahlberg came into this, but...
He's aware of the camera and the microphone is all I'm saying, but you raised...
I mean, no, he's aware. He put it on.
We got a name, Bo. The first name, LeBron James. Because after scoring 42 points in a win over the Spurs last night, that also happened, LeBron was asked about Kevin Durant's explanation to Bleacher Report that stars don't want to play with LeBron because of the media attention, saying, quote, "I get why anyone wouldn't want to be in that environment because it is toxic," end quote. Let's listen to LeBron's response.
Kevin Durant said that the media attention around it creates an environment that is toxic. Did you see those comments?
I did not. I believe that's probably not the whole quote, so I'm not going to comment on that. You know, I would love to see the whole transcript of what was asked of him, the context it was asked of him, why it was asked, and the whole thing. So I'm not going to comment on it because I'm not knowledge. I don't know the whole thing. That would be stupid on my part. I'm a veteran.
Does LeBron actually seem as unbothered as he wants it to be?
I mean, I guess he seemed unbothered by something he didn't know, like what exactly was said, or at least he gave the impression that he does not know this. But I find it interesting, the idea that Durant would think that it's toxic. Because one thing he said is that LeBron's got all these media fanboys. That was the thing that he really focused on. So I guess what he's saying is if something goes wrong with a team, it's not going to be LeBron's fault. It's going to be the other person, whoever it happens to be. Maybe there's something to that. I'm just curious from the Durant standpoint, isn't that kind of what you walked into in Golden State?
Right. That's the other unsaid part of this. And what LeBron did there, Bo, was give a clinic in a post-game interview setting. He was politically savvy because he says he likes to suggest that he doesn't care about the narrative. He said that after this game as well, but this was a guy who not only understands and cares about what people say about him, he understands and cares about how he talks about how people talk about him, the meta-narrative, because what he did was diffuse the notion that there is toxicity in the media setting by being charming. At one point, the media person, the PR person for the Lakers, tried to stop the interview. He took another question. He talked about how he went to bed early. He talked about how unbothered he was and laughed, and everyone laughed with him. That's what KD can't do and doesn't do.
Yeah, but I think, like, in all that being true, I do wonder this, though, because Kyrie's case is different, of course, because he thought he was going to be the man, and then, like, a week later, LeBron showed up, and he never really got over that fact. If you want to be the man, then no, you can't go to L.A. That is true. And I think there's a statement to be made about a certain caliber of star not wanting to go and run second fiddle to LeBron. That's different than saying that it's toxic. It's just a matter of, hey, man, there's only room for there to be, there's one son, right? There's lots of stars.
That's right.
There's one son. You're going to be a star. He is going to be the son. I've just not heard anybody describe being around LeBron in the way that Kevin Durant has. So I wonder, even from seeing more of what he said, because I don't think Durant meant to say anything harsh necessarily. It just seemed a little strange.
Yeah, it seemed to be more projection than insight into the question that, by the way, applies to why Kawhi Leonard seems to be rumored to favor the Clippers, why Paul George never truly wanted to go down the road of playing with the Lakers, instead choosing to stay in Oklahoma City, obviously. But, you know, all of this is moot, by the way, if the thing that LeBron, I think, really wants to happen ends up happening, which is they trade for Anthony Davis. Because, man, you know what? I don't know if Anthony Davis wants to be orbiting around him, but that's how it's going to go down if it goes LeBron's way.
There we go. Next name is Reuben Foster. The Washington linebacker was the focus today on Good Morning America when his ex-girlfriend, Alyssa Ennis, sat down with Lindsey Davis and opened up about multiple alleged incidents of domestic abuse throughout the past year.
Reuben threw my clothes out the balcony. He threw my stuff out the house. He dragged me down the stairs 2-3 times. He punched me in my face 2-3 times, pulled me by my hair, kicked me, spit on me.
This incident in November, you called 911.
Yes, ma'am.
Your ex-boyfriend did what?
Took my phone and broke it and slapped me in my face.
Did it feel like they did not believe you?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I felt like they didn't believe me. Even when I called the police, the 49ers came up there. I have pictures of the 49ers coming up there trying to talk to the police and say I'm the same ex-girlfriend that sit up there and lied.
Ennis claims Foster's abuse in that Tampa hotel on November 24th left her with these bruises on her neck and face.
All right, today the 49ers released a statement in response, quote, the 49ers fully cooperated with authorities, assisted in locating Mr. Foster, and in no way impeded their investigation, unquote. Pablo, did today's interview change your view of what happens to Reuben Foster going forward?
Well, look, this is not small potatoes, to use the term of art that was offered in a statement. This is something that tests what we need to truly go all in on a story like this. Because we've been talking a lot this week, Bo, vis-a-vis Kareem Hunt. Is video what you need? We don't have video of the act in question, but we now have that evidence, right? Disturbing photography that is new and explicit. We have a person seemingly very genuinely talking about this in a way that is, it's powerful. And I wonder, like, if you're the public, does your rational mind at some point recognize this, or are you still waiting collectively for something else to prove that this is like a really big deal?
Yeah, well, see, there's the public, and that is its own unwieldy beast. But let's look at the NFL and NFL teams, because what I found to be interesting is her talking about the 49ers and what she alleges is the way they handle things in the hotel in Tampa. This also takes you back to Bruce Allen, where Bruce Allen said he had this other set of facts, this other set of information that led him to believe it went the other way. I'd like to know what that is, like what exactly it was that you heard, and did you hear this from the 49ers? Because I feel like if you had called law enforcement, if you had some back channel sources, one of them might be able to tell you, oh yeah, and there were visible injuries that were there. People would make the call on this where they're going to keep bringing a dude like Foster around. I think there's room to bring Foster back if there's some serious level of redemption or corrective behavior. In the interview, the woman says that both she and Foster had been going through some measure of therapy here. But when the 49ers let him go, their whole thing was, well, he lied to us. They didn't even get close to talking about what seems to have happened here, because I found her case to be fairly compelling.
Yes, I did as well. And the thing that is still to be decided, of course, is how the actual justice system and the actual police department, what sense they make of this. Because that's what, if you are Bruce Allen, that is what you are waiting on. That is kind of the life preserver you're hoping is tossed to you. Because if the justice system, the thing that actually has the power to adjudicate real matters of importance in real life, is going to say, actually, despite that interview, as compelling as it was, we need more, then they can do whatever they want, I feel.
Yeah, I just don't, in looking at this, I don't know if Foster plays a down for Washington. I don't know if he plays, but the question is going to be, when can he answer for himself?
Yes.
Because I think Greg Hardy, he probably could have survived it if he didn't seem like such a lunatic every time he had to answer for himself.
Last name is the Raptors. Toronto beat the Sixers last night. He had 36, 9-5. Kawhi Leonard did. This team looks great. They're in first place in the East at 21-5. But Bo, are you convinced the Raptors are significantly better than they were last year when they won the East by 4 games?
Well, they have a significant difference on this team versus the last team, which is the last team had an all-star in DeMar DeRozan as probably their best player if Kyle Lowry wasn't. Now they have Kawhi Leonard, who is at least near the superstar tier, if not a legitimate full-on superstar in the NBA. And that is a big difference between the two. What we had seen happen to Toronto in the postseason was nobody stepped up and looked like a superstar. We saw Lowry and DeRozan at various points kind of fade. We've seen that dude come up big in the postseason, and now they have one of those. And the difference between having one of those and having none of those is pretty significant.
It's massive. The NBA, in some ways, is very unpredictable and drama-filled, but in other ways, we know you need superstars in the playoffs. Go through the Wikipedia page of NBA champions, go down the list. There are exceptions, perhaps, like the Pistons, maybe, depending on who you value, but you need a top-flight guy, Bo. And Kawhi Leonard, for those who forgot, when he is healthy, when he is right, he is the second best two-way player in the league, only to playoff LeBron James. This guy is so much better than DeMar DeRozan, and Masai Ujiri has said this, right? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. This is doing something different, and I expect the result to be different too.
Yeah, except they still only got one of them. That's the thing about it. Like, you go look at Philly, and we're going to see what happens with Ben Simmons because he can't
It's
shoot.
a problem.
But they do have Jimmy Butler, and they have Embiid. Like, they got two guys you feel like you can lean on when it comes to it. Boston's got a couple guys that, at the very least, that you feel like you can lean on if it comes down to it. Where Milwaukee and Toronto are in the same places. They look like they got one guy.
Yes.
And I don't know if one guy is going to be enough if you got other teams in that conference that got two. Look, you got to think about those 4 teams I named. 2 of them are going to have to lose in the second round.
Right. And the good news is that Kawhi Leonard's value should be most obvious in that playoff.
Coming up next, is Kyler Murray leaning toward the NFL?
I love podcasts like High Noons and Bomani's and the one I do every morning for you people.
And renters.
Durant, he really wants media fanboys. I feel like that's the
does.
ultimate moral of that story. Where are my media fanboys?
He watches what is being said. He watches shows, and I love that about him, but that's not how you get the fanboys. First quote. I mean, you look at Dallas, his history. They always choke, so we'll go down there and make them choke. Said Eagles linebacker Camus Grugier-Hill about Sunday's game against the Cowboys. Let's listen.
I mean, look at Dallas' history. They always choke, so we'll go down there and make them choke.
Bo, could this backfire on this gentleman?
I mean, I suppose it's possible. Yeah, we love to talk about bulletin board stuff, and we put it on the show and then say, will this become a thing, like we're not in the process of making this thing a thing. And it's not as though he didn't say something that most people have been saying over and over again for the last 2 decades.
That's right.
Here's his problem. I ain't never heard of that dude till right now. I ain't never seen this dude right now. And that does not mean that he's not allowed to have an opinion. It just gets to be awkward when somebody says something like that and you're like, where do I know you from?
I wonder if he was watching shows like ours and was realizing, wait, this DeMarcus Lawrence trash talk about choking thing, maybe I can do that. Because I do think the bulletin board as this deterrent, as this stigmatized concept, it has seemingly been decreasing as social media has become a thing. Like everybody seems to be moonlighting in some way as a pro wrestler. And maybe even Camus Grugier-Hill is like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Let me see how this
Yeah, but listen, it ain't no everybody though, right? Like you don't have that many people that are going to come out and do this. Like Jalen Ramsey does not turn us into an everybody when it comes to the rest of this. The only thing I would say is if you think they are chokers, then there is no risk of this backfiring. All you're doing is putting pressure on a choker.
That is a very good point. Brilliant strategy, actually.
Next quote. I can't confirm or deny. At the end of the day, I just know I'm healthy enough to play. So Cam Newton, when asked if he needed shoulder surgery this offseason, Pablo, should the Panthers considering resting Cam even though they're in the playoff hunt?
I think they have to consider it, but when I like to take the long view on these sorts of topics, in football it's different because, yeah, there's other people risking their bodies and other people putting their lives on the line, but they brought in Taylor Heineke, who is Cam Newton's backup, to chuck that last-second Hail Mary attempt last week, Bo. They've done that now twice this year, and it is simply because Cam Newton cannot throw the ball that far. His maximum air yards, I think, in terms of the longest throw he's had is about 40 yards and change. This is a problem, and that short kind of underneath offense that Norv Turner had been mastering, clearly that's not saving him because the guy's being beat up so much.
Who'd you say his backup was?
Taylor Heineke.
Then Cam Newton's going to play all the way out in this, right? No matter what it takes. Cam Newton throwing with his left hand. You're going to take him over
Taylor Heineke.
All right, I mean no disrespect to you, sir. I just didn't really know your name until this very moment, right?
I had to learn it.
Yeah, so no. He's going to be out there. The thing is, he takes so many hits, and part of it is that he takes a backup running back's workload in the ground game. That's right. Before you get to the idea. We got a number on a card. Since he hit the league in 2011, he's been hit more than any other quarterback, and by more, I mean 600 times more, basically, than any other quarterback has been hit. I don't know what the long-term arc is on the Cam Newton career because you have to look at him like a running back as much as you look at him as a quarterback just in terms of what the deterioration for him is going to be. But no, they got to throw him out there. They got no choice.
No, he's been hit the second most times this season, I believe, despite the revamped offense, despite the fact, by the way, that if he does get shoulder surgery, that is his second shoulder surgery in 3 years. If that's your franchise, I know you got to play him, but do something. Last quote. I think that's something me and my family will talk about at the end of the season and weigh out the options of what the NFL thinks of me. Said Kyler Murray on his impending decision of either accepting his $4.66 million signing bonus and joining the Oakland A's or pursuing a hypothetical NFL career. Today, notably, Kyler was named the AP Player of the Year as the betting favorite for the Heisman. Do you think his mind is kind of starting to change?
I'm starting to think that his mind was never made up in the first place, or his mind was made up in this way. Please tell me I'll be a first-round pick, right? If you tell me I will be a first-round pick, I will come and play football because I would really, really, really like to play football. I'm just not at the point yet of believing that a 5'10" listed quarterback is going to be a first-round pick in spite of how dynamic and talented he is. But I think he would rather play football. It's just a matter of whether somebody's going to make it worth his while.
It is interesting to examine the rhetoric that we've seen and heard from him because his agent, by the way, is Scott Boras. Like, Scott Boras knows how to create a marketplace. He knows that maybe ensuring the $4.66 million from the A's, getting that in hand, is step one. Step two is where this kind of gets interesting because I don't know if it's like an Eli Manning thing, like I don't want to be in San Diego. I don't know if he has a favorite city. I don't know if it's a first round thing. All I know is that if that is the rationale for why you would actually go and play football, like, you're not concerned about yourself in the way that I think we are concerned about him. It's about your health, man.
Well, once you throw Scott Boras in there, that gets interesting because I ain't never heard of Scott Boras representing no football player, which is to say that if Kyler Murray went to play football, I'm pretty sure he would go get a different agent, and Scott Boras really ain't trying to hear from that. But wait till we start getting those leaks about how Kyler Murray can't read a defense.
That's right.
Coming from Scott Boras. He ain't about to give that money to somebody else. What are you, crazy?
He will make a giant binder. He will have mystery teams, but he'll also do that.
All right, coming up next. Could John Wall perhaps go to the Knicks?
Oh, that's on the table.
Dave and Buster.
Today, Scott Boras has said that Kyler Murray will be in spring training with the A's, which raises the question, Bo. Can you like Bo Jackson this? Is that on the table in any way? Can you see that happening?
Does he look like Bo Jackson to you?
He did that ad, but...
Does he look like Bo Jackson to you?
No.
Okay.
He's my Heisman agent, though. Today's number. $170 million. That is how much is left on John Wall's contract once his 4-year extension kicks in beginning next season. But the New York Post reports, quote, some in the league believe the Knicks are stocking up their young assets and will make a major play for Wall if he becomes available, end quote. Is John Wall in this city a good idea?
That depends on who you're talking about. Is it a good idea for John Wall? Probably not. Is it a good idea for the Knicks? Probably not. Is it a good idea for me? It is the best idea that I have ever heard. If we get John Wall up here, kicking it late at night all the time, and refusing to answer a question with anything other than what he actually thinks.
That's right.
And you put that in New York, that will be so much fun. So dumb for the Knicks, so good for us.
Terrible for the Knicks, but we talk about legends at the bank. He is a legend at the club. Please roll the video, Bo. In New York City. In New York and around New York, as we get to look at some archival John Wall birthday footage, if you could please put up, there it is. This dude had a birthday party, his 21st.
That's your boy with him?
Drake, absolutely. There's a Diddy in there, there's a Mello in there, there's a J.R. Smith in there, everybody, Swizz Beatz is there. The point is, this is still a legend in this city. John Wall's 21st at Greenhouse, which is what we're watching archival footage of. But there's also video of his 27th birthday party. The guy is just out here in ways that, like, if you have a sugar addiction, Bo, you don't invite someone to go to the chocolate factory. And that's kind of what this feels like.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm here for it. Like, I don't have the evidence that him kicking it as he kicks it is having a, like, detrimental effect on what he's doing on the court. I don't have any evidence to indicate that. I just know that you put him under this microscope that is New York City, oh yeah, make that happen. In fact, let's put him and get Kevin Durant up here at the same time. Woo! I'm just trying to create a full-on media bonanza around the New York Knicks. If I'm going to live here for work, give me some work I can live with.
You are trying to create the toxic media environment, I fear.
Yes,
you are trying to do all of the things that Kevin Durant is alleging.
I want it all. If we can get John Wall playing for the Knicks. Hey, anybody talk to Porzingis about this?
No, and it seems like a bad idea for that reason, but I am kind of also into this, I must say.
You good?
Yeah.
Thanks. In closing, I'm scared to death of the future, and it's because of stuff like this story from yesterday about a robot accidentally spraying an Amazon warehouse in New Jersey with a can of bear repellent spray. The damn robot punctured a can of repellent. The fume sent 24 people to the hospital. But seeing how I know what you selfish jokers are worried about, it said the warehouse was okay by the end of the day, so I imagine that you will get your packages on time. This does kind of remind me of the time that I accidentally sprayed some mace in the car I was riding with my mom, and let me tell you something, mace is some powerful stuff.
I have never accidentally or intentionally fired base?
Yeah.
But Bo, I wonder, like, if this is the effect, right, in a warehouse that Amazon is running, are we sure people should be able to order this over Amazon?
Well, I would say that if you actually need it for the Bears, you need to be able to get it in whatever means you possibly can.
I just feel like that's a slippery slope for Amazon. Like, if Bear Repellent can do that, I feel like other things should be available. I don't want to go down that slippery slope, actually. That's a little dangerous.
No, the issue there simply is, hey, robot, stop poking holes into cans of spray. How about that? Hey, how about Amazon? Why don't you hire some people to do some of this stuff? They'll know better than to do that.
I would hope so. But in closing, I would like to discuss a workplace incident of a different kind. We go out to Korea, as is our want lately.
Your want.
Thank you. To watch a SPO TV sports broadcaster named Jo Hyun-il do his thing. Let's watch.
자, 캐벌리어스가 좀 아쉽게 패배를 했습니다. 하지만 전반전 종료까지는 리드를 가지고 있었고 특히나 이 젊은 선수들이 좀 좋은 활약을 좀 보여줬었는데 후반전에 그 에너지 레벨을 유지하지 못했던 게 좀 아쉽네요.
그렇습니다.
네.
Co-host!
네.
What's he supposed to do?
네.
Get a hanker. Like, yo, man, this is what you do. Hey, sir, please.
Dude, you say
yourself.
that like this dude doesn't know his own nose is bleeding. How's the code? You think I'm wasting my pocket square for you?
Joe is merely trying to play through the pain. He is an athlete. This is toughness. I just need his... Bo, this is Korean, clearly. This is Korean high noon. And you're telling me that you're the co-host who's just like, nah, you know.
Whoa, wait a minute. I don't know. If that's Korean high noon, which one of them is you? Because that one ain't me, and certainly your buddy on the left ain't me.
I did buy a humidifier recently because the air in my apartment's super dry.